My name is Patrick Dixon. I'm chair of the Libertarian Party of Texas, and last year I ran for county commissioner in Travis County, Texas. The office I was running for was a county commissioner seat, and it was precinct number 3. That office had been held by a Republican named Gerald Doherty for, I believe, 2 terms. And it changed in 2010 when he was opposed by a Democrat named Karen Huber. So that year you had Gerald Doherty, the incumbent Republican, running against Karen Huber, a Democrat. Wes Benedict, a Libertarian, decided, I'm going to get into this race, and I'm going to show that I can talk about issues where Gerald Doherty was wrong and cost him his seat. And that happened. Wes got, I believe, about 5% of the vote, and it was way in excess of the margin. It was a very tight election, and Gerald lost his seat. So now Karen Huber, the Democrat, had that seat. Last year, Karen ran for re-election. Gerald Doherty said, I'm going to try to run again and get my seat back. I ran in that race as the Libertarian. And instead of saying, here are the things about Gerald Doherty that I'm not very comfortable with, I said, here's what Karen Huber's done. She has spent tons of money on corporate welfare. I talked to her constituency about the things she did not do right. I got 5.5%, way in excess of the margin, and Gerald Doherty got his seat back. So what I think that demonstrates is a Libertarian can talk about Libertarian positions and not be just right or just be left, but we can attract Democrats as equally as Republicans. So you had the same exact candidates with a Libertarian in both races, and I think clearly the Libertarian swung it in a different way. Absolutely, a Libertarian is not somebody who leans right or leans left. A Libertarian is someone who has principles that can be applied equally to either side of that spectrum. So those who say, well, a Libertarian's in the race, it's going to hurt the Republican, it could hurt the Democrat equally as much. And I think that's an important thing to stress. Since 2004, our numbers have grown pretty significantly. If you look at our website, lptexas.org, right on the front page, we show the results of elections since 2004. In almost every category, the numbers go up. We've had gains of 90% in some races. Now, they still may be single digit overall, but what I'm focused on is the growth. And when you look at the growth, it's pretty significant. So I think across the board, we're seeing growth. I think the clearest example was in that same election in the city of Austin. For many years, the city of Austin had a city council that was just at-large members. And typically the people who got elected to city council were sort of all from the same kind of neighborhood. So there was no representation from this side of the city or that side of the city or so forth. And over the years, citizens have complained about this and said we ought to have some representation for our area. And they would come up through with initiatives that always got voted down. So again, last election, there was an effort to try to set up some districts and have some district representation. And some people said, well, it's just going to fail again. We keep voting on this, it keeps failing. Well, they persisted, got it on the ballot, but the thing was, how many districts? 5, 10, 20, how many? So what it ended up being were 2 different approaches. One being, have 10 districts and just have the mayor at large. Another was, have 7 districts, 3 at large with a mayor. And of course, the other option was, don't change it, leave it alone. So really there were 3 options. But on the ballot, there was not just one ballot position with 3 choices and pick one. There were 2 positions on the ballot. Do you approve of the 10 district or no change? Or a separate position on the ballot was, do you approve 7 district, 3 at large, or no change? The result was the 10 district won. But if that had all been packaged together into one ballot measure and pick one, there probably would have been no change. I think that was a clear example of approval voting reflecting the will of the public to do what they'd always wanted to do, and eventually they got what they wanted because you had essentially approval voting in that process. I think there's no single answer, but what we've done in Texas is to make sure that when somebody comes to the party, they get a response. I think of it like if you go into an orchard and you want to pick apples, and you can shake the tree really hard and wait for the apples to come down and fall in your basket, but if you have a hole in your basket, they fall through, they hit the ground, and they rot. And that's what happens when somebody says, heard about the Libertarian Party, I'm going to call them up. No answer. I email them, no response. Go to their website, broken links. That's what you have to fix. If you fix those things so that people who are ripe, who are falling out of that tree, if you go into the orchard with a mended basket, and those are the ripe fruit, they're right there, and they fall in your basket, you catch them. They're not the green ones that you have to convert. They're not the ones that aren't quite ready. These are the people who are ripe, ready for you. They fall in your basket. If you catch them, that's your best opportunity. So we have had, since 2004, staff. We've had paid staff, full-time, to handle people that come in, they get an answer. That, I think, is the most important thing. There's lots of ways to shake the tree and lots of other ways to grow. But for me, I want to make sure that when people come to us, they get a good response.